And welcome back. A teenager goes on a rampage, shooting dozens of people. Now, it's an all too familiar story that just became more familiar days ago in Omaha, Nebraska. But like many of these stories that involve a young shooter, we nearly always seem to find out that the young person was recently treated for depression. So the question we're asking tonight on Hannity's America is, why isn't the treatment working? Douglas Kennedy is here, and he reports that the treatment may in fact be the problem.
In 2003, Lori York's 14-year-old son, Ryan, was having anxiety fitting in at his high school. Lori is a registered nurse and did what her doctor ordered. She put him on Paxil. She says her son's behavior immediately got worse.
His behavior deteriorated drastically. He indifferent to us, indifferent to life, the anger, the rages. At this point, he was completely failing out of school.
She then faced the diabolical dilemma thousands of parents are unknowingly put into when their children take antidepressants. Once they start, they're almost impossible to stop.
I was seeing behaviors in him that I never saw before, and they were scary. Called his psychiatrist and told him I wanted him off this drug. That now I truly believed that this was the drug. Got the weaning schedule from his psychiatrist, and we dropped him from 50 milligrams to 37.5.
Then on March 3rd, 2004, Ryan snapped, emerging from his bedroom with a knife like this one, in what Lori describes as a full-blown Paxil rage. She later learned he had purchased the Anarchist cookbook and had been studying bomb making.
Totally unrecognizable. He was spouting Shakespeare. He had knives. He was holding knives. He had knives in his room that he was bringing them out one at a time and putting them on the kitchen counter.
It was violent behavior Ryan had never before exhibited before going on Paxil, and has not exhibited since he successfully weaned off the drug over a grueling 15-month period. But psychiatrist Peter Bregan says it's the exact behavior that schools across the country are becoming more and more familiar with, as antidepressant use among children has exploded.
The kids who are taking the antidepressants, supposedly for their depression, are becoming more suicidal.
In fact, a Fox News investigation found a disturbing number of recent young shooters were either on antidepressants or were withdrawing from antidepressants, including 15-year-old Kip Kinkle, withdrawing from Prozac when he shot 22 classmates, killing 2, after murdering his mother and stepfather. 12-year-old Christopher Pittman on Luvox and withdrawing from Paxil when he killed his paternal grandparents. 14-year-old Elizabeth Bush on Prozac when she blasted away at fellow students in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, wounding 1. 18-year-old Jason Hoffman on Effexor and Celexa when he opened fire at his California high school, wounding 5. 15-year-old Sean Cooper on a mix of antidepressants when he shot at students at his Idaho high school. 15-year-old TJ Solomon also on a mix of antidepressants when he aimed his shotgun at classmates in Conyers, Georgia, wounding 6. And 17-year-old Eric Harris on Luvox when he and his partner Dylan Klebold killed 12 classmates and a teacher at Columbine. We don't know what drug Sung-Hee Cho was taking when he killed 32 people at Virginia Tech in 2007. We haven't yet discovered if Robert Hawkins was on antidepressants earlier this month when he killed 9 people, including himself, at an Omaha mall. But we do know both were treated for depression, which these days, Bregan says, almost always means drugs.
We are wanting to push drugs on our children. And it's really time for Americans to feel outraged about this. Doctors, lawyers, nurses, ordinary folks, parents, teachers, we should all say it's time to stop drugging our kids to control their behavior.
Bregan admits it is difficult to make a direct link between an antidepressant and one individual's violent act, but he recently got some long-looked-for confirmation from the Food and Drug Administration, which issued a black box warning that newer antidepressants not only increase violent tendencies, but also suicidal tendencies. With this caveat, the new warning language does not prohibit the use of antidepressants in children and adolescents. Rather, it warns of the risk of suicidal behavior and encourages prescribers to balance this risk with clinical need.
There's absolutely no question whatsoever that the antidepressants cause at least a doubling of the rate of suicide attempts in children and suicidal ideation or thinking, because that's been demonstrated in short-term, 4, 5, 6 weeks controlled clinical trials.
And he says not only do they have bad side effects, he questions whether they are even effective in treating depression.
These drugs don't help children. The FDA has presented a summary of all of the studies of antidepressants for children, and the vast majority show 50% of the kids become agitated or irritable or upset when they take the drug, causes disturbed behavior, doubles the suicide risk. It's time to figure out what our kids need educationally and within their families.
That's something Laura York knows for sure. She says she realized what her son was going through was normal. And in the end, if she hung in there with his teenage angst, he would learn to hang in there with himself.
Bottom line is, there is no magic pill. Listen to your children. Because if I had listened to Ryan, we wouldn't have gone through this.
And more of Hannity's America coming up on the other side of this break.